December 1st. Just checking in here on the holiday situation. Everybody still got a pulse. Everybody survived Black Friday. Everybody survived me being online here live on YouTube 4 out of 5 days. And are you controlling the shopping and the weather and the events and the party planning and all that? Is everybody doing okay? Hope so. December is the month. In my family, we just call it the month of celebration because it is my son's birthday on the 5th, just in a few days. We're having a big birthday party, the kids, the Pokemon theme, all that stuff. This Saturday. What's that? Is that tomorrow? Say that's tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I hope we're ready. Then, of course, we celebrate his actual birthday on the Tuesday, but then my wife's birthday is coming up on the 17th and everything that entails. And then, of course, the Christmas hosting, holiday party, gift giving. I have 2 kids, 9 and 11. So it's just like that perfect time of doing all the things. And then my wife and I, for some reason, 18 years ago, got married on December 31st because, hey, why not add that to the mix? Anyway, hope your December is filled with celebration as well. Reverend Claudia is here. Amazing. Love to see Mark here, a member who came in and got all the goods on Black Friday weekend. Mark, great to see you here. Samuel is here from Northern Michigan. Amazing. Lisa's here. LMC wedding officiant. Paul, you are largely to blame for the topic here today. So thank you for this. I feel a bit like a worm on a hook, to be honest, with this hot potato topic. We're here to talk about that question of the week. What do I do if I think my couple should not be getting married? And with that, that's all the time we have, folks. This one could be, like I say, this one could be a spicy meatball, a hot potato. If you want a spoiler, don't. If you want a spoiler, if you don't want a spoiler, if you don't want to know what my thoughts are on this, don't read Sandra, JBL. Don't read Sandra's comments. She came in here. I have been asked this question, and Paul and others have asked, what do I do if I think my couple shouldn't be getting married? Now, I'd love to hear in the chat because, like I say, there might be opinions on this topic. Maybe this isn't as controversial as I think it is, but it is one of those things where, am I more comfortable just talking about how to do a processional or, some kind of ceremony nitty gritty marketing tips? Yeah, this one is uncomfortable because it would involve some discomfort. Either you are seeing something that's making you uncomfortable, then you have to decide to do something that might make them uncomfortable. There's discomfort. So why wouldn't it be uncomfortable talking about it? Let's just put that out there. But I'm so glad so many of you jumped in here to see what I might say about it. And again, I'm interested in opinions. This is interesting because yesterday, if you're on my list, you know that I make an announcement the day before, 24 hours before or so, that I'm going live tomorrow on Friday. So yesterday I sent out that email and I did get some responses with some opinions already in advance, which is very rare. Again, if I say, when do kids go in the processional? We'll talk about it. People don't usually email me with their very pointed thoughts on it. But this was one of those topics where I did get some advanced thoughts from all of you, from many of you. And so I can't wait to get into it. Cantor Mark is here. You called it office hours, Mark. No, it is not office hours. We are dealing with a very specific topic today. Office hours are for members, of course, as you know. Easy to be confused. I know. I've been on YouTube so much lately. You're like, what's he doing now on here? But thanks for showing up. Office hours are for Academy and Pro members. That is this Tuesday coming up. But today we are tackling this. Nicole says, I watched your videos and nailed my son's wedding. Oh my gosh. Fist bump, high five. That's awesome. Cheers to you. I'm so thrilled. I'm going to give you a virtual cheers and take a drink of my orange cream soda flavored bubbly sparkling water. Great. And so that makes my day. That's amazing. Mark, it's okay. Like I say, it's easy to wonder what the heck's going on here. Now, Claudia says, before each wedding, before bridal procession, I'll ask her privately if she really wants to get married today. Amazing. Okay. See, I knew right away this is something that I talk about in Academy. My wife is so grateful for this moment where, when my wedding was starting, getting married to her, of course, like I said, 18, coming up on 18 years ago, I was at the front with my friend who was officiating. This was in Korea. We were both English teachers there. And the music started. Hey, I knew nothing about weddings then. And it was actually my friend's. He was a minister, but it was his first wedding as well. So he didn't have maybe the greatest depth of knowledge. But my wife was apparently at the back. She came in the limo. It was a very small wedding. It was in a church. And so I was at the front of the church, and my friend was with me and just kind of kickstarted that way. He didn't even see her. He kind of like knew she was here and got the nod. But Naomi talks about how grateful she was for the moment that her father stopped and looked at her and basically did what Claudia just said. In absence of an officiant doing this, I do the same, and this is why I do this, Claudia. Her dad said, "Hey, it's not too late. There was a lot of planning and things, but what you're about to do is quite a commitment. And if you want to walk away now, that changes nothing for me. You want to be sure that you want to do this." He was basically, showing her the door the other way out of the church. And as the schmuck at the front, of course, I'm very glad that she did not make the other decision. But basically, she had that moment to reflect. And she said, "Yes, I want to do this." And phew, she came down that aisle. But she did talk about that. And her dad talked about that as well. And I'm talking about him in past tense because he has since deceased. But that was something that we talked about a lot with the decision she made and how he made that decision for her. Now, we are talking about today. I thought about how to roll this out. I thought maybe I should do, if I ever do this in a formal post or something like that, on a blog, or make this a formal YouTube video, because I'm kind of off the cuff here on Friday Live. If I ever do this in a more formal publication, I think I'll make like a flow chart of all the caveats. I am going to want to bring up several slash many caveats today for where we're going to get to at the end. You know how a flow chart usually ends with one or two options at the bottom, depending on all the yeses or nos. Let's start with kind of that maze of caveats, because I think there are many, and I just wanted to think this through in terms of all of the options. Like, in order to make a good decision about anything, I usually sit down with a pencil and paper and just think about what are all of my options when we're discussing anything. My wife in marriage and family therapy, helping people making decisions. What are all of the options? We have to know what's possible. We have to know everything that's possible. So, the first thing I would consider, first of all, when we are talking about this topic is, um, first of all, you have to be a professional. I think this question is really only for professionals. What do I do if I think my couple shouldn't be getting married? If you are a friend or relative, so there's a whole other category here in the sense of, if you're a friend or relative marrying your friend or relative, you have maybe a personal relationship with the couple. And so that is going to change the dynamic depending on whether you are a hired professional who is really, I don't want to say only doing this for money, but you know what I mean. When somebody gives you that money in exchange for services, you are committing to them, you are in their lives. Hopefully, you develop a wonderful relationship with them, but you don't have any pre existing relationship. That might give you more of a basis to speak into their lives. So, the first thing we need to think about is, am I a hired professional vendor who is going to serve them by standing up and officiating their wedding ceremony, or am I a friend or relative? And I wonder if, obviously I'm thinking about this more with my professional hat on, I wonder if it could be a whole different topic for, hey, if you're a friend or relative, my goodness, father of the bride, mother of the bride, if Naomi's dad were officiating the wedding, Would he have asked that same question? I think so. Would he have more possibility to speak into her life? Because as somebody who was raised in a very, I would say, patriarchal, verging on misogynistic, fundamentalist Christian cult, the person that I was when I was 25 is quite different than the person I am today. And I do wonder if he could have judged me a little bit more harshly back then. Thankfully, there was grace. I have changed a lot. But that is an example of kind of what I'm wondering about family and friends officiating versus a professional. So I am going to be talking more about, I think, as this unspools, however it might, organically. I do have a plan. You might see me looking off screen because, like, I did sketch some thoughts down. Uh, let's think about this kind of professionally. The first thing you need to consider, uh, if you are going to take any action at all, if you think, I don't think my couple should be getting married, and we are going to talk about, well, what would those reasons be? The first thing you have to think about is, are you willing to accept risk from saying something, from taking any action? Okay. So, and some of those risks could be, of course, making people very mad at the minimum. Second thing, of course, is losing out on that wedding, missing that income. An extreme case, maybe a lawsuit, depending on how mad you make them or how serious the objections become. So, I do want to say, if this is a choose your own adventure, am I dating myself? The easier thing definitely to do is to do and say nothing. Just go ahead with everything versus raising the alarm, taking some action. Now, that brings us to, what does taking action mean? Taking action to me means, again, think flow chart. Uh, Taking action means, I think, two things. I've really tried to think about, would there be a third or a fourth thing? The first thing would be saying something. And so then now we have questions about, who do we say something to? What does that look like? But very simply, we can say something. I don't think my couple should be getting married. I don't think you should be getting married. That's the first thing. The second way of taking action, of course, as a professional and even as a friend or relative, although this is where being a friend or relative might be even more difficult than being a professional, is to simply withdraw your availability for that wedding. If you were seeing something that concerned you, again, we're going to talk about different levels. I have to keep saying we're going to talk. So yeah, those to me are the two acts. Say something. All kinds of questions around how to do that, who to do it to, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get there. Say something, or simply say that you are not available. Now, while I'm here, I will say, that is obviously the easier thing to do. And in your contract, if you are a professional, hopefully, like me, you have given yourself the option to do that. In my contract, I basically say something like, if I become incapacitated or for any reason no longer available to officiate your wedding, I will refund you all the money I've taken. So if that's their booking retainer 50% before the 2 weeks before, then they get all that back. And if I cancel on them within 2 weeks before the wedding, again, I've never done this, thankfully, or had to do it, but that would mean refunding them 100% of the fee that I collected. So, like I say, that could be, I charge $1,000, so that could be the full 1,000, and I think rightly so if I completely step away. In that case, I would likely still. I've done a lot of the work in order. We've talked about this for giving refunds. I'd probably mail them the work we've done, the ceremony, even the story if it's done, because we don't want to leave anybody high and dry. So there is that option for withdrawing your services. Okay, so here we are now. We've got these two options of say something or just withdraw. Now, why do we might think our couple should not get married? Okay, so again, I'm thinking this through because, to be honest, this has never happened to me in the sense of, I've never thought something is serious enough to not go through with the wedding. Now, have I thought about, I don't know, I don't know about this couple. It doesn't look to me like most of like 90% of my couples who are happy and in love and look into each other's eyes, etc., etc. Of course that's happened to me. The more weddings you do, you are going to come across couples who you're thinking like, I don't know if they should be getting married. That said, I do want to direct you right now to Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers. That is a really insightful book on thin slicing, he calls it, and studies that are done around how bad we are at judging what we see. Now, we do make snap judgments. We just do. As humans, we have to. We're always filtering information. We're always reacting to what we see, people, circumstances, etc. But that book really impacted me in terms of the studies that have been done about how judges, for example, boy, this is really going down a rabbit hole, will render verdicts to people who are in the justice system, and how those verdicts are compared to, for example, random computer choices, and how judges don't do any better than random computers. Things like that are in that book that it's like, okay, now maybe you see where I'm leaning on this. So, what would be the reasons? Now we're kind of into what would be the levels of discomfort or reasons why I don't think my couple should be getting married. The first thing would be if something is illegal. This would be, and for an officiant, again, I was like, what? Obviously, we shouldn't break the law for somebody. So, what would this be about? Well, this would be about, for example, if you found out that ages broke state or provincial laws, then you would not go through with this. So that's like, oh, I don't think my couple should be getting married because, oh, she's 15 and we just found that out. Then, of course, you need to just say, I can't do this. So there's legal reasons. Maybe abuse, but again, did you see it? There would have to be some kind of abuse that happens in front of you, some incident involving battery that you witnessed, that I think then you could say that was assault and I am not officiating this wedding. Okay, so again, how often is that ever going to come up? I don't think so. It's never happened to me. That would be extremely rare. So our first category, we're being very analytical about this, I know, but it's how to approach any topic like this, is have you witnessed assault or is there an age issue? In terms of officiating, that is the only thing that I can see being privy to that would cause you to say, legally, I cannot and will not officiate this wedding. The second thing, of course, is ethical violations, things that are against your personal practice, whether that's around business, professionalism, asking you to violate certain codes of conduct or standards that you hold yourself to. I'm not sure why you would have gotten into officiating a wedding in that circumstance in the first place, but something might change. You might start feeling very, very uncomfortable. So again, there's a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to professional ethics, but that could be something that sets off in your head saying, I don't think my couple should be getting married. Now, again, this is different than they're making me uncomfortable by asking me to do something. I want to stay on topic of you're looking at your couple and thinking, I don't think they should get hitched for life. So even in terms of ethics, I'm not sure what ethical violations they would be doing for you to be looking into their relationship and saying, I don't really like this. And if you have any ideas, put them in the chat, although we don't want to be too much of a downer here. But this is the kind of stuff that we have to really think through in order to make a good decision and choose a good course of action, whether to, as I said, say something to somebody or just withdraw our services for the day. The third thing, so we got illegal, we got ethical, we got personal. And this is where I kind of jumped the gun a little bit by saying, are people going to make you uncomfortable? Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, these are just not my people? And maybe I try to mitigate that with a chem check with every couple I marry. But have I ended up down the road working with a couple at their wedding workshop? Last week I was on here talking about the 36 steps of professional officiating. Somewhere along those 36 steps, did you just get the sense of like, I don't really like working with them. I want to stay on topic. This is not about necessarily not liking working with them or personality conflicts. This is looking at the dynamic of two people and thinking, I don't think they should be getting married. So that's the third thing where, for some personal reason, you don't think that they should be committing their lives to each other and getting married. Okay, so I think I've laid some groundwork here. If we could round up, what did we cover? We covered you need to be willing to accept a lot of risk if you're going to say or do something. Well, take action. What is taking action? Taking action is saying something or withdrawing from the ceremony. And then we're talking about levels of discomfort, kind of categories: illegal, ethical, personal. Okay, so I'm gonna again take another drink here and see what's going on in the chat. Anybody adding their own 2 cents? I don't want to say 2 cents because that's diminishing. I'm really interested in some thoughts here and seeing if there's stuff stirring up. I'm back to Claudia, who said, Reverend Claudia said she asks, and absolutely, I think that's the mark of an amazing professional. Mr. J, relationship and trauma coach. Hey, high five, man. Offer premarital coaching. Mind my business. Oh man, Jay, you should have just come on here because we are turning the corner. Love your opinion and thank you for laying it out so plainly. This is great. Let's see. Mark is saying office hours. Mark's still sorting out the office hours thing. Mitzi, I've been here the whole time, but now I'm out of the car. This is a very good topic. Okay. Thank you, Mitzi. I love it. I love it. You're always on the run. You're always going somewhere. You're always doing something. Buying avocados at Trader Joe's, writing a ceremony, whatever it is. No, it was Mark who's buying avocados. But sometimes you guys are chatting on the phone anyway. Well, anyway, I'm glad to be here with you, Mitzi. I've had one couple unself-select themselves from getting married. And I was so grateful. I had a horrible feeling about them. And as far as I know, they still never married. Amazing. I have had some couples just, say the wedding is postponed indefinitely. And then I don't hear from them again. But I have not gotten to the point where I thought, I don't think they should get married. And then thankfully they postpone. That's very interesting, or cancel. But you have been there. That's fascinating. Mike is here from Jackson. Awesome. Jacksonville, Florida. I think it's very good for wedding officiants to develop a working professional relationship with a therapist, therapy clinic. Oh, you guys, the wisdom. I love it. I wish I wish that this was a session where we could actually talk, like a Zoom session. Oh, wow. That is really involved. That's amazing. But Mitzi, I know it's frustrating to pop away in the chat here, but that's why I like to kind of read out what you're saying. If it's something really valuable like this, there's much you'd like to say, but based on two experiences you've had. You had a situation, Mitzi, where the mother of a groom was accusing the bride's family of anti-Semitism, and she said that this family would attack the wedding party. Wowzers. Yeah. Jillian just gave a smiley face. Probably not in response to that. Jillian is here. If we back out of the ceremony, Paul says, and they ask for a recommendation for a replacement, would you suggest someone else? Yes, I would. I wouldn't, if I could suggest somebody, I would, because now again we're getting to that point of I think we, short of, like I say, full on abuse that you've witnessed, or just age issue where a replacement wouldn't matter for something like that. You're like, well, I'm not marrying you, but nobody should because it's against state law because of the age. That kind of thing is no good. Ethical violation, again, I'm trying to think of how that would fit. So I guess, Paul, I should have said it depends, but if it was some personal thin slice, and this goes back to Jay's wisdom up above, I probably would, because I just wouldn't like leave them high and dry. Now that goes to what I think we should do here. I do want to keep reading these great comments, though. Mitzi says, it turned out that this mother had some very deep psychiatric issues. Okay, so that happens again. And weddings surface all